on chicken cages. However, the issue that was far more disappointing was the Speaker's decision to not support the governor's initiative regarding tolls.
So he has talked about a special fall session for that. And I know you've said you haven't seen any bill out of the House yet. You can't talk about coming back for a fall session if that happens. But it looks likely that the transportation bill will be tweaked. Is it important enough to you to come back so the Senate can at least examine that bill for a fall session? Would you be open to it?
At this juncture, the Speaker was quoted yesterday as saying he may pass the original bill or he may tweak it. It would be very premature for me to, at any juncture, consider a hypothetical. The legislation the governor proposed was modified significantly to address the concerns of Rhode Island businesses. It is, in fact, a good, strong proposal with conservative estimates, addressed every concern that was raised in the House and Senate committees. Are there always other ways to do it? Certainly. What I would be primarily concerned about is shifting the impact to Rhode Island businesses to satisfy the National Trucking Association. The fact of the matter is the legislation as it was modified really does keep a concern for the largest trucks. And once you get beyond the larger trucks, you start talking about diesel, start talking about anything else. Now you're talking about a lot of our small businesses in Rhode Island. You start having concerns, look where our studio is located, about over-the-border sales to Massachusetts. And you're asking all Rhode Islanders to pay for something that statistically the federal government has demonstrated that about 70% of the damage is caused by the largest of the trucks, 90% if you went to the next class, 6 and 7. So at this juncture we've had 2 public hearings in the House and Senate. The governor and the DOT has run the numbers, and I'm satisfied that the plan that is before us is a good plan.
But to be clear, and you know reporters have to do this, you aren't 100% ruling out returning, right?
I am actually at this point because it doesn't make sense. Change for the sake of change. My caucus, I work as a team. I want to say that. We had a caucus. We took a tough position. We passed the legislation that the governor and the DOT worked very hard on. After we had every reason to believe, after standing under the bridge with the Speaker, no alternatives had been raised. In fact, the very concerns we raised, the governor and DOT addressed every one. So at this juncture, change for the sake of change, I'm very concerned about our public safety of our roads and our bridges, and I don't understand the reason for this delay. I am hopeful that the governor may be able to begin the process as a possibility with the federal government without the legislation, and that is always an option if, in fact, that's possible. I know she's researching that.
Begin the process with the federal government, meaning bring in tolls without the General Assembly?
Begin necessarily getting the study. You can't bring tolls.
That's what I thought. Okay,
Assembly. But what has to happen is there has to be an investment grade study done in order to issue the bonds. So there needs to be a memorandum of understanding. That was one of the reasons the governor had come to both the Speaker and I and asked if we could pass this legislation at this time, even though it wouldn't be fully implemented for another year and a half. So the question becomes, is it possible for them to begin that process and the legislation wait till January? I don't know the answer to that. I hope to be talking to her later today. I know she was going to research that.
You're being, I would say, pretty candid about the disagreements between the House and Senate right now, which of course we like, makes for good TV. But, you know, is this a worse relationship right now between the House and Senate than previously during a period, or is this, do you see this as just the normal legislative back and forth?
I think it's democracy at its best. I mean, the whole process over the last 6 weeks with this legislation was democracy at its best. Changes were made. I think that there's going to be disagreements among leaders about policy, and when you look at the things we agreed at, minimum wage increases, tip credit, once again, pension settlement, complex budget that included a health care exchange, among other things. I think that what we agreed to this session was far more than what we didn't agree to.
Our guest this week is